Hello everyone. On the last day of our presentation, I am dealing with the topic Animal Farm as Dystopian Literature. This is my personal informations. Table of content. First, introduction, then about author, then dystopia definition, then characteristics of dystopian literature, then dystopia in literature. Examples are Brave New World of Aldous Huxley and 1984 of George Orwell. Then Animal Farm as dystopian literature. In this, the allegory and intention in Animal Farm. Then conclusion and work citation. So, the archetypal tale Animal Farm is a unique blend of political history as well as the social scenario. The description of the situation offered a significant impact over the literary globe. The fictional tale of Animal Farm also unmasks the brunt of corrupted power as well as obnoxious leadership over the unfortunate individual of that era. Thus, the power may be symbolized as the ability to bring or implement changes. Such type of changes or alternates may prove optimistic or bring about evil result for the less fortunate individuals. Apart from this, George Orwell also highlighted that control as well as total domination are recognized as well as sign of greed and brutality. After attainment of power or control, an individual gets influenced by the thought of greed. This is mainly due to the unfair treatment by the owner of the manor farm. And about author George Orwell, pseudonym of Eric Arthur Blair. He was born in June 25, 1903 at Motihari, Bengal, India and died in January 21st, 1950 at London, England. He was an English novelist, essayist and critic famous for his novel Animal Farm in 1984. The latter, a profound anti-utopian novel that examines the danger of totalitarian rules. And George Orwell state in his Why I Write about totalitarianism or about his work that every line of serious work that I have written since 1936, it is a time of civil war, has been written directly or indirectly against totalitarianism and for democratic socialism as I understand it. His notable works are A Clergyman's Daughter, A Hanging, Animal Farm, 1984, Burmese Days Coming Up for Air. Then dystopia, the definition. The noun dystopia is often used synonymously with dystopian literature. Dystopia is identified with the failed utopia of 20th century totalitarianism. Dystopia means extreme coercion, inequality, imprisonment, and slavery. Often, this is described as some concept of collectivism run wild, though some include conformist tendencies in liberal societies which encourage egalitarian repression and intolerance. This indicates three main interrelated form of the concept of dystopia. First is the political dystopia, then environmental dystopia, and technological dystopia. Among these types, it is the totalitarian politic dystopia which is chiefly associated with the failure of utopia aspiration and which has received the greatest historical attention. Beside the more malevolent type of early society, five models pertinent to the modern collectivist political dystopia merit mentions are militarized societies, second slavery, third despotism, fourth is prisons, and fifth is diseased species. Then characteristic of dystopian literature are an oppressive or authoritarian government and laws of individual freedom, a dehumanized population, a restricted or a distorted language, a bleak and oppressive atmosphere, a critic of contemporary society. Then dystopia in literature. We have so many examples of dystopian literatures like 1984, George Orwell, then Brave New World, Fahrenheit 451, and so many others. Amongst them, we'll discuss Brave New World of Aldous Huxley and 1984 of George Orwell. Huxley's society is placed about 600 years into the future, a society where babies are produced in bottles, where every appetite is gratified immediately, where total promiscuity is the sexual norm, where mental and physical conditioning approaches the ultimate. And for all these societies, divergence from our own. It creates a speak like the properent 20th century Englishman. The massive social and technological changes projected by Huxley seem to have had no effect on their language. Huxley's novel presents a society which is the very antithesis of societies proposed throughout the history of ideas. It is diametrically opposed to such various models as Plato's Republic in ancient Greece, Augustine's City of God in the medieval period, and Roger Williams' Providence Plantation in the New World. A brave new world is a society based on presupposition which deny fundamental assumption about man and reality which were foundational for societal view from the past. Then George Orwell's 1984. 1984, published shortly before Orwell's death in 1949, is set in dystopian future in which three superpower, Oceanian, Eurasian, and Astasia, Oceania, Eurasia, and Astasia control the globe. Focusing on Oceania, specifically Airstrip 1, formerly England, the novel explores a form of totalitarian government in which even the inner thoughts and beliefs of citizens are policed. The novel managed to embed key abstract notion about totalitarianism, a political term that emerged in the late 1930s, in striking concrete image of visceral and easy to grasp the thought police, thought crimes, and double think, permanent telescreen, surveillance, and the notion that Big Brother is watching you, and ending with the terrors of Room 101 as a vision of the dissolution of the self. And through this dialogue, we can understand the entire situation of the that society of 1984 on the view of dystopia or totalitarian. That it is said by party in our world there will be no emotion except fear, rage, triumph, and self abasement. Everything else we shall destroy everything. We have cut the lines between child and parent and between man and woman. In the future, there will be no wives and no friends. The sex instinct will be eradicated. We shall abolish the orgasm. There will be no loyalty except loyalty to the party. There will be no love except the love of Big Brother. Then Animal Farm as dystopian literature. This novel was written largely in 1944. The so-called fairy tale openly criticized the Soviet Union, particularly Stalin, at a time when Great Britain was firmly committed to its ally against Nazi Germany. Finally published in 1945, the novel engendered some controversy, but was Orwell well received in both Great Britain and the United States. Intended by Orwell to be a warning against the Stalinist perversion of socialism, Animal Farm was immediately interpreted by some to be a whole cloth attack against socialism and communism. And one dialogue on the starting of the novel, we found the speech of Old Major. Here George Orwell tried to attack on the politics also, and if we see the interpretation of political interpretation of Animal Farm, we found the old measures stand as Marx, and Marxism stand here we could find in the speech of Old Measure, and he said that, and even the miserable lives we lead are not allowed to reach their natural span. No animal escaped the cruel knife in the end. You, young brokers, who are sitting in front of me, every one of you will scream your lives out at the block within a year. To that horror, we all must come. Cows, pigs, hens, sheep, everyone, even the horses and the dogs have no better fate. You, boxer, the very day that those great muscles of yours lost their power. Jones will sell you to the nakers who will cut your throats and boil you down for the fox hunt. As for the dogs, when they grow old and toothless, Jones ties a brick round their necks and drown them in the nearest pond. Then George Orwell once stated in his Why I Write about the Animal Farm that I will only say that of late years I have tried to write less picturesquely and more exactly. In any case, I find that by the time you have perfected any style of writing, you have always outgrown it. Animal Farm was the first book in which I tried with full consciousness of what I was doing. To fuse political purpose and artistic purpose into one whole. I have not written a novel for 7 years, but I hope to write another very soon. It is bound to be a failure. Every book is a failure, but do know with some clarity what kind of book I want to write. Then, Animal Farm include the use of propaganda, indoctrination, and fear to control the animal's thoughts and behavior, the suppression of a dissenting voice, and the manipulation of history to serve the interest of ruling class. This novel warns against the danger of totalitarianism, propaganda, and the abuse of power. It portrays the transformation of a once egalitarian society into a totalitarian regime where the ruling class oppresses and exploits the other animals for their own benefits. Animal Farm represents the idea that in a dystopian society, the ruling class often use propaganda and misinformation to control the thoughts and behavior of the population, creating a distorted reality in which the leader is always right and any dissenter voice are silenced or punished. In Animal Farm, we find very many dialogue that shows the misinformation by leaders and manipulation of by leaders that Napoleon is always right. Another dialogue is it had become usual to give Napoleon the credit for every successful achievement and every stroke of good fortune. You would often hear no hen remark to another under the guidance of our leader, Comrade Napoleon, I have laid 5 eggs in 6 days, or 2 cows enjoying a drink at the pool, would exclaim, thanks to leadership of Comrade Napoleon, how excellent this water taste. And the other is, if Comrade Napoleon says it, it must be right. The changes to the commandment in Animal Farm reflect the dystopian concept of the manipulation of language and information by those in power, where words and phrases are redefined or distorted to serve the interest of the ruling class. And there we find the commandment changing. First, there is all animal are equal, and after the ruling of Napoleon, there is all animal are equal, but some animal are more equal than other. It shows the manipulation of language and information by leaders. Throughout Animal Farm, Orwell's main weapon of choice is Orwell's striking satire. In fact, the entire book can be viewed as a 100-page satiric look at politics and human life. Not only do we see human beings overthrown by pigs and chickens, but all the animals can talk and some can even read and write. Naming one of the pigs, Napoleon, is also significant. The carefully chosen names are both realistic and highly suggestive of their owner, personalities, and roles in the fable. Later in the story, after Napoleon takes over, we see him declaring days of celebration on his birthday and not allowing the other animal to call him Napoleon, but rather our leader, Comrade Napoleon. So, in Animal Farm, the allegory and intention. Animal Farm tells the story of group of farm animals, that is Russians, then overthrow their bumbling alcoholic farmer, Mr. Jones, as Tsar Nicholas II, in order to achieve an idealistic vision of the future set down for them by an egging old measure as Karl Marx. Once Mr. Jones is driven off the farm, the animal begins setting up their new government, naturally led by the pigs, who are seen as the cleverest of animals. The lead pigs, Napoleon, as Joseph Stalin, and Snowball as Leon Trotsky take charge of a nascent self-governed farm which at first seems to prosper. Due to ideological difference, Napoleon and Snowball begin to quarrel, and Napoleon eventually ordered a pack of dogs under his commands to chase his rival Snowball off the farm. What follows is a series of betrayal of the animal by the ruling class of pigs. The seven basic tenets of animals communism, painted on the wall of the barn, are slowly corrupted or to fit the needs of Napoleon. The farm animals are by and large too dumb to notice until the pigs are sleeping in beds, wearing clothes, walking on two legs, and meeting Mr. Pilkington as Great Britain and the United States and other farmer for trade negotiation. The novel ends with the animals outside the farmhouse looking from pig to man and from man to pig and from pig to man again. But already it was impossible to say which was man, which was which. Orwell intended the allegory to be against capitalistics and communist alike, with his major goal to be a warning against totalitarianism, but it was not taken that way by intelligence agencies on either side. So I prompt to ChatGPT that Animal Farm is dystopian literature, and it gave me the simple answer. If we want to know about the dystopian literature and Animal Farm is dystopian literature, then it will be good. But if we want to know more about it, then it is not given that much good answer. Then, in conclusion, Animal Farm is a classic example of dystopian literature that warns against the dangers of totalitarianism and the need for vigilance in protecting against oppression. Orwell's allegorical tale demonstrates the insidious nature of power and the potential for corrupt leaders to manipulate and exploit their followers, making it a timeless cautionary tale. Orwellian concepts such as Big Brother and some are more equal than others enter into the public lexicon. However, this organization also unwittingly provides the world with a vocabulary that is potentially well suited to criticizing the United States in the 21st century. These are work citation. Thank you.